Well, hi folks. It's 95 degrees outside today with a heat index well over 100. So I'm inside today in the air conditioning that we've got running here off of the kitchen. And what I want to do is process some tomatoes today. This has been, like I've said before, a really rough year for a garden with all the rain we've had and all the humidity, and things aren't growing like they should be, but we still are getting some produce. We put several bags of sweet corn away into the freezer yesterday, and today I want to process some tomatoes that will eventually either become sauce or tomato juice. We're not sure yet. What we're doing basically is just juicing them, putting them in freezer bags and freezing them. Then when we decide what we're going to do with them, we'll put, we'll either put them into jars for tomato juice, or my wife will cook it up with her homemade spaghetti sauce recipe. But one of the things we found a few years ago that really makes this job a whole lot easier is this juicing machine here. We found it at a discount, one of these discount stores that has like leftover stuff, and price was good on it, so we thought let's give it a try. And what this does is it'll just juice the tomato rather than to have to, typically what you'd have to do is you'd have to throw them into boiling water and peel the skins off and cook them down, and it's a huge process, where this goes a whole lot quicker. Now granted, there's a bit more waste this way. You will have some waste from the skins and so on that you wouldn't have if you did it the other way, but I'll tell you what, the time that this saves, it's well worth it. Let me just show you this, how it works. This is the place where you stick the tomatoes in. Actually, any fruit you could put in there. You can see down in there is a rotating blade. It'll begin to spin very quickly when I turn it on, and you feed the chunk of tomato down in there, and it will shred it all up. And here on the spout on the front, the juice will come out, and I catch it here in this measuring cup that came with it. And then I'll just put it into a pan over here for now, and just do these. Now, as I said, these tomatoes aren't great. I'm going to have to cut some bad spots out. I'm battling both early and late blight already in the garden with the tomatoes, so I'm losing some of the crop, and the rabbits are eating their share too. So they're not tomatoes that I would sell for somebody who wants slicing tomatoes for a sandwich or what have you. They're just not, they just don't look good enough. But for juicing, hey, if it has a bad spot in, you cut it out and you use the rest of it. You know, that's what I'm basically going to have to do. And that's okay, because nobody's going to see the skins or what they look like before. All they're going to have is the juice that'll be in whatever we decide to make with it. So let me give you an idea here. I'll start with these two tomatoes. I've got a core. I'll core them first. If there are any bad spots, I'll cut them out, and then I'll feed them into the processor here, and you can see how easy this works. So stay tuned. Okay, I've cored the tomatoes. I've sectioned them so they'll fit down the tube, and I've turned the machine on. If you look down in here, you can see the blade, the circular blade, is now spinning. So what I'm going to do is basically just take a chunk, drop it down in here, put the ram in, and push down on it, and as you can see, out comes the juice. I know it seems like that's not very much, but there still is more inside there that will come out once you get more going through here. There we go. I'll do the other one for you too. Last piece for this. And that's all there is to it. Let me turn this off for now. After you do a bunch, I think we typically can get 2 of these measuring cups full of juice before we have to clean it. You just pop this lever off, pull it apart, and then you just scrape the rind and stuff that's in here. There's a bay in the back here. This bay in the back is where most of it accumulates. And, excuse me, I'll just fill my bowl with that. We'll either throw it back in the garden or give it to the chickens to chew on, whatever. But that's all there is. There's no fooling around with having to cook it and try to peel the skin off. And this is ready to just dump into the pot, and then, or even dump directly into the freezer bags. If we were cooking spaghetti sauce, we'd dump it into the pot where we would be cooking, and we'd go right from there. So this is how easy using this juicer is to do this. I'm glad we found it, and it's worked out well for us. So, and I think, can't remember, I believe my wife's largest quantity was, she did over 60 quarts of spaghetti sauce the one summer, maybe another 30 pints of tomato juice. So we had lots of tomatoes that year, and we used them all up. And hey, the food is good, it's fresh, and it's available when we need it. So it's well worth the investment. I'm sure there are other juicers out there that work just as well, or maybe even better than this, but this is the one we use, and it does a good job, as you can see. So thank you for watching. I'm going to continue working on the rest of these tomatoes now, and I don't think you need to see me pour them into a freezer bag. I think you can figure that out on your own. But this is all that it takes to get to the point of either storing or beginning to process the tomatoes and whatever you're going to make them. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. Well, hi folks. My wife decided, rather than freezing the juice, she decided she'd cook this batch up into spaghetti sauce. So I ended up with 11 quarts of juice that I ran through the juicer, and now it's on the stove cooking down. She hasn't added any of the spices or anything yet. This will take a few hours, and then it'll be canned. So the process continues in turning tomatoes into sauce. We'll give you an update later. Okay, the next phase here, what we decided to do with the tomato juice is we cooked it down, and it's going to be tomato sauce, just a generic sauce that can be added to later to make spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, any application that you can use tomatoes. So what she is doing here is filling quart jars, and then it's going to go into this hot water canner here, bath canner. You can see there's one in there already, and according to the instructions, it's got to be boiled for 40 minutes to make sure that it's completely safe. And again, you can see that we started with about 11 quarts of the juiced tomatoes, and it did boil down to about half, so it is thicker. This is now the consistency of about tomato soup. We could boil it down more if we wanted to make a thick sauce, but for right now this will suffice. And then this is part of the canning process. Here you can see the saucepan that has the lids and the rings in. They're all heated up a bit so that there's no nothing that's put in cold. And the jar lifter, of course. The jars themselves are heated again, so there's nothing put in cold. You don't want to crack anything or have any problems like that. It's a standard canning funnel that if you're going to do canning you really need. Fits perfectly inside the jar lids. And after 40 minutes we'll pull these out, set them aside to cool, and wait for the ping, and then it's all done. Thank you for watching. Okay, well, the timing is up for the canner load of tomato sauce. As you can see, we had 6 quarts and 1 pint, and that was from 11 quarts of juice initially that were juiced. So what we're going to do is take these out now. You can see they were boiling, and you can see the consistency there. So we're just going to set them over here to cool. There's a cooling rack underneath that towel there. And you can see they look pretty good quality. Oops. And we'll just let them cool. Sorry about that with the camera. I'm trying to do two things at once here. Let them cool, and eventually we'll hear the lids seal so that there's no contamination gets in. And then tomorrow, what my wife will do is she'll label them, what it is and the date, so that we can remember in 6 months what it was when we did it. And then put them away, put them on the shelf with the rest of the canned goods. So what you've seen is essentially now oh, did you hear that little ping? One of the lids already closed. And that was, I think that was the first, that's the first one I pulled out, right? This one right here. Oh, I just heard another ping. That was this one just closed, the one I just pulled out. There's another one. They're sealing nicely. Obviously you can't trust, but you can if the lids don't seal properly, because you want a vacuum tight seal so that no bacteria can grow, no air can get in, bacteria can grow. At any rate, a little tip that my wife learned too is that it is possible for these things to seal and then come loose and then reseal, which is obviously what you don't want. So what she was taught was what you want to do is, after these are cool, you actually take the rings off and just leave the lids on while they're in storage, because if they should come unsealed, you'll be able to see that without the rings on, and then you can throw it away without any danger of contamination. But with the rings on, you might not notice it. So that's just a suggestion that she was given and she tries to do. The rings, of course, are reusable. The lids are not, for safety's sake. So if you look back through our previous videos, you can remember back in the spring when I was planting the tomato plants. Actually, you can go all the way back to March, when I sowed some tomato seeds for a couple varieties of tomatoes. I think I put a few smaller ones in here that I had sown in there. So you can see the beginning, the middle, and now the ending process. The only thing we didn't include is putting it on pasta or something and eating it. So this is part of living in the country and surviving on a shoestring, and also enjoying the fruits of your labor, having this kind of fresh food available to you. And yeah, it's work. It's so easier to go to the grocery store and just grab a can of sauce or a jar of spaghetti sauce, but this food has great flavor, it's fresh, and you help to make it. So that's our example of canning tomatoes. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.